Hey everybody, welcome to the Awesome Guy Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Powers, as usual. Today we're talking with Ryan from Nude Dude Food. And wait till you hear his story. But he's had an ostomy for a number of years, as I have, and he was diagnosed with Crohn's at a young age, so we'll kind of get to know what's going on with him and a few other things going on. I kind of want to talk a little bit with him about where he gets his supplies and how and what process he started going through when he got out of the hospital and what he's doing now. Probably get a few hacks from him that we could all learn from. So without further ado, here's Ryan. Hey, sweet. Very cool, man. How are you, Ryan?
Yeah, good. Nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So tell me how Nude Dude Food has been affected by COVID.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. We're by trade private chefs. We'll come into your home, cook multi-course meals for parties of about 10 to 20 people. We try to keep it a little smaller like that, just to be intimate and be able to talk about like food and just education on healthy eating and sourcing locally. So that's completely been shut down. It's starting now to ramp up, but for like the last 3 to 4 months, we had no private business. So we kind of went back to our passion, which was baking sourdough bread. So we've been baking sourdough years before we even started the business, but that was a way to connect with the community and stay relevant on social media and kind of give back too. So we were donating sourdough bread, and any donations we got, we would make meals for frontline workers, the hospitals here in Chicago, and then drop them off. But now we're getting back somewhat to normal. I mean, it's not ever going to be normal because still with COVID and there's travel restrictions all over like the surrounding states around Chicago. So we're still getting dinner parties canceled left and right. So bread is still going. We're doing like sourdough pizza now.
Oh, wow.
Restaurant storefront, just trying to stay as busy as we can and make some money.
Man, I bet. So how is everything looking in Chicago in regards to like phases of opening and addressing that? I mean, where are you at with the
Yeah, I mean, we're
transition?
still, I think it's called phase 3. It's about 25 to 50% indoor capacity at max. So that's really tough. They've extended kind of outdoor seating. Some of the side streets they'll close down and let restaurants, patios kind of expand into the street that they shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's left and right. Restaurants are closing, not only permanently, but then even existing restaurants, someone will test positive, then they have to shut the kitchen down. So it's bad, and I don't know. It's not going to change anytime soon. I'm almost fearful that we have more restrictions because the mayor and there's a lot of other stuff going on outside of COVID here in the city. There was like some looting overnight last night downtown on Michigan Avenue. So that's what we're hoping to just again continue to do carry out with the bread and pizza, because regardless of any further restrictions, we can still do kind of like a carry out type business.
Could you do like some sort of like grilling events or things like that, like wood fire pizza,
Sure.
where you do them kind of outside with people?
Yeah, and we have the kitchen we have, we're happy to do carry out, and we have like a guy, we've even been doing like scooter delivery, shirtless dude scooter delivery of pizza. Again, just trying to stay relevant and just do something different. Because we can't get in a lot of people's homes. Again, we are starting to do dinners, but they're smaller, about 10 people. Obviously, we prefer, as much distance as possible and to be outside if we can. Because the problem with the dinners that we do, they're friends and they're maybe bachelorette parties that people are traveling in from other cities or other states, and they're kind of putting themselves at risk by even being there together. So then additionally, us coming into your home or Airbnb to cook for that group who's staying, all together and spending a lot of time in close proximity, we found that, we're actually kind of putting ourselves more at risk than them. So it's a crazy time, and we miss the connection. We love being in front of people and talking about the business, the brand, and just really educating people on healthy eating habits, let alone, anyone with IBD or an ostomy.
Well, man, you're in my prayers, especially now. I mean, it's got to be just frustrating. It's kind of like I think of it kind of like my dad as he's gotten older. His mind is still pretty sharp. His body's just slow. So you got all kinds
Sure.
of ideas and things going on, and the wants are all there. It's just you can't do it. And so, man, I wish the best to your
Thank you
business.
much. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, again, it could be a lot worse. We're super grateful for having a space that we can cook and prep out of. Unlike other restaurants that we're just using the space temporarily. But restaurants with like a lease and all these employees, and not being able to, some restaurants aren't even open because if it's not worth doing something at 25-50%. You can't pay your staff.
Yeah.
Uh, can't pay the bills. So we're as bad as it is, we feel really grateful about the position we're still in.
So let's digress a little bit, and then we'll
Yeah, for
kind of
sure.
come back to that. But I brought you on because of your history with Crohn's disease and having an ostomy. And I kind of want to start out by just kind of hearing a little bit of your story about when you were diagnosed, kind of what was going on then, and how you've battled to your ostomy time
For
period.
sure. Yeah. And cut me off anytime. It's a long story, but I can give you the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, dude.
I'm 39 today.
Dude, happy birthday.
Well, no,
That's
sorry,
all.
not at the current day, but I just turned like a couple of weeks ago. I turned 39. So
Well,
just to give
forget what
you
I
a
said.
reference, I know, right? Um, but at age 14, I think it was like eighth grade, freshman year, I got diagnosed with Crohn's, and I came from, or I come from a smaller town in central Illinois called Peoria. So back then, even 20 something years, surgery and medications, and now all the infusions and kind of medications like that.
Did you try everything?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean everything. I signed consents for every study, and for me, I mean I didn't know any better as a teenager trying to manage even just going through high school, let alone chronic illness at the time. So surgery was never really talked about. My doctors, whether they're underprepared or not, and I didn't know really much about it at the time. We tried, every medication, and really steroids was the only thing that helped me. But obviously, there's a lot of side effects, and being, a teenager at 15, in high school, trying to, meet girls and just kind of grow up to be an adult. It played havoc on my physical health and my emotional health. So I finally came up to Chicago, started coming up here for medical appointments and procedures. But it wasn't until about 4 years later, my junior year of college, that things were just so bad. I had no quality of life. I was, trying to go to the bathroom like 20 times a day, sitting on a toilet. That was my biggest fear every time going to class, or
yeah.
anytime I was in the car, was just like, where's the bathroom? Where, if I have to go, I need to go now.
Were you fairly
But
private about it all? Did you just keep it to yourself?
at the time, I mean, a little bit at the time. I didn't. My family and my friends kind of knew about it, but I didn't know anyone in the community that actually had Crohn's, let alone an ostomy, until like years later. So what I know now, obviously, that's something that I preach and try to talk to, people even on my own Instagram or through different, like I'm a volunteer at the Camp Oasis for a year. So things I stress to new patients or kids or anyone really is just having a strong support system that you can lean on, that not only will support you, but also, can relate to, symptoms you're having and things like that. Your family is great. Friends are great, but it's different when you have someone in your close circle that has experienced some similar things that you have as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can you real quick just
Yeah.
give a brief on what Camp Oasis is? Just
Oh
real
yeah, for
quick.
sure. Yeah. My bad. I kind of jumped forward in the story, but Camp Oasis is a nationwide camp through the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, that they have chapters all over, not in every state, but in most of the states. So even if there's one in Indiana, Illinois, but it's literally a summer camp for kids, and like a sleepaway camp for about 5 days. I think the ages are like 10 to 15 or so. Might
Yeah.
be a little different than that, but really it's just just like any other summer camp you would go to as a kid. There's a lake, there's sports, there's all these different activities, but the one commonality is everyone there has Crohn's or colitis. Some have ostomies. There's a medical staff on site all the time. There's a mental health staff, and that's kind of where I got involved because by trade, I'm a licensed therapist as well. Prior to starting my chef business, I did a lot of work, not specifically with chronic illness, but with youth and kids, and more like abused kids and neglected kids. But when I finally got connected with camp, I was immediately turned on to it because, again, as a young kid myself with Crohn's, I never had a support system. So I wanted to give back, and I had experienced so much in my life, let alone my professional life as a therapist. I really wanted to connect with these kids and do as much good as I can. So that's what camp is. They take counselors, and by counselors, they're just like people like us. They don't have to have a mental health degree. They just have to have, desire to help people and share your story and really just make kids and youth feel normal about having Crohn's and colitis and being okay, about talking about symptoms and providing a safe space. So that is what Camp Oasis is. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll back up a little bit, I guess. So college, just really, really bad times. I was having accidents all the time, no social life, really couldn't get any worse in my mind. So I went up to the Mayo Clinic for spring break. Not really the ideal place to go spend a spring break in college, but that's where I went. And immediately once they did tests, they realized that my large intestine, which would be maybe like the size of a garden hose, was like a shoestring. So it became very clear that this was irreversible. The colon was pretty much useless. And my only option really was to have a permanent ostomy put in. So I waited till the end of my junior year, summer break, and then came back up to Chicago, had the surgery, and within a week or two.
How'd you deal with that decision?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it really was out of my hands, and I talked to a lot of kids and people that are contemplating the surgery. For me, it wasn't an option. If I wanted to live and have any quality of life again, I had to have it, and that made the decision easy for me. But I think looking back, if doctors said, you can wait till after college or, prolong it a little more, I think I still would have made the choice myself to have it as soon as possible. Because again, I mean, it's hard to remember even sometimes. I think I kind of block it out of my head, really how sick I was, because I've been feeling so good lately and for so long. But, things I remember, just, the worst pain ever and just the worst feeling ever. So having the surgery for me was the best decision, whether I had that decision or not, but it was the best thing that ever happened to my Crohn's. It's life-changing, it's permanent, but for me, I instantly started feeling better. They weaned me off kind of most of the steroids in the hospital. The biggest challenge, me now being in like early 20s was not really so much body image, because once I started feeling better, I was able to kind of be more social and get back in the gym, and I never let it stop me. But the first couple months, obviously recovering was really tough. There were some complications with the staple. So while I was still in recovery, they removed all the staples. So my incision in my abdomen was pretty big, and had to heal from the inside out almost all summer, that first surgery.
So it wasn't laparoscopic, they cut you open?
Nah, yeah, they cut me wide open. So, and since then I've had about 3 or 4, I had a resection. My bottom never closed up. So I was on a wound vac for a bunch of months. I had, partially my fault, but because of just how active I am, I developed a pretty big hernia, because previously they'd removed some abdominal muscle to kind of repair me inside. But I didn't let it stop me, and then I formed a hernia, so they went back in again. So I've had the same abdominal scar surgery rehab like 4 or 5 times already, but I still I still think it was the best option to have that initial surgery. My biggest hurdle at the time was just managing diet and hydration, because again, my attitude was always, it's not going to define me, it's not going to stop me. But then sometimes I'm my biggest worst enemy sometimes, because I'll just go, and then skip meals, or I had some trouble early on with dehydration, just being weak and not kind of taking care of myself in the best way I should have.
Yeah.
Now I'm older and a little wiser, I guess. But
That
yeah,
dehydration thing, man, is one of those deals it's a lesson learned hard, most of us.
absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, having a short gut and people with ostomies, learn real quick. Things go through you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I always am trying to stay hydrated with water or something like that. But that's kind of what got me into cooking as well. I had the Crohn's kind of down. Like once they took my colon out, I really wasn't having, typical symptoms of stomach aches, nausea. Obviously there was no urgency anymore because I could go anytime, anywhere. But it was more kind of managing my diet and what things I could eat to stay, at a stable weight and stay hydrated. So I just started cooking for myself, and my roommate, who's been a big support for me since high school, we started the business together. But, years before that, we were just cooking, trying to, we'd modify menus here or there, or things for me. But really with the ostomy, there's not really much I can eat. If anything, it's just kind of moderation. There's some of my favorite foods, like summer corn is like super like fresh right now, but that's just something I can barely tolerate. So I kind of miss some of those things. But really, that's kind of what really drove me more to cooking. And I was getting burnt out in my social work career. So I wanted to tie the two things together, health and wellness, and talking in front of people and sharing not only my health story, but just how people can live healthier lifestyles by shopping at local farmers markets and things like that. So here we are now today.
So how is the transition to you? And I know, we really didn't have a choice when we had our surgery.
Yeah.
And you kind of we're all winging it, and you just kind of dive right into the life. But what was the biggest change for you outside of your Crohn's symptoms and things, but your bathroom habits? So you went from having, needing to be around a restroom all the time to a totally different need. And I could talk just a little bit about that transition. Now, we're kind of used to it because you kind of got to have an awareness. Where's the closest bathroom? Where's this?
For sure.
So you're always planning ahead, but like with an ostomy, there's a few other tricks. And how was that transition for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of taken the joy out of going to the bathroom. I remember, reading books or comics or playing a video game or your Game Boy. But now, there's really not much satisfaction or time spent in the bathroom to, escape family or roommates or things like that. Right. So, which is a good thing, because again, you have so much more free time to do whatever you want, as opposed to sit in pain and push and grunt and spend time in the bathroom. But
did you have a Nokia phone and play Snake on it?
Sure.
Did you play Snake all the time?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because we're about the same age, so that's I remember doing that.
My first job, we had a car phone, but it literally was wired to like a big bag that hooked up to the cigarette lighter or something. But I think now how things have changed, more so just being prepared for your situation. I know people that carry backup supplies with them wherever they go, whether they're obviously, if you're traveling by car or for vacation or airplane, it's always good to have something like in your carry-on or with you at all times. But in my day-to-day, I don't really take anything with me on the fly unless I feel like it's close to a bag change. Like even today, I did like a yoga high intense workout outdoors. It was 90 degrees out. So I knew it was close to like a bag change day anyway. And sure enough, by the end of the workout, being, twisting and bending and stuff, it was the seal was starting to break down. But at the same time, I'm a mile from home. I just came home immediately and changed it. But outside of that, I mean, it really, it's actually really freeing. I go camping a lot. So, I mean, it's super easy just to either dig a hole or find a bush and just empty your bag really quick. It takes about 20, 30 seconds, if you really got it down pat. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is just kind of having, supplies. And I know we talked about it previously, just that's the biggest thing that can give me, or I guess any ostomate, some security, is just having supplies in stock at all times, whether it's in your house, in your car, in a backpack. But that'll give you a lot of security, just knowing that if something comes up, that you have some supplies close at hand.
So when you got out of the hospital from your ostomy surgery, what company or what brand were you using? Are you still using it? And how was it coming out of the hospital?
Sure. It was rough in the beginning. I remember having, nurses help me, and let alone get out of bed to, change it or empty it, because I was still healing my abdominal wound or whatnot. But I was sick so long and dependent on other people that a big characteristic change for me was just wanting to be as independent as possible, almost to a fault. Like I hate asking anyone for help or doing anything. I'll do anything for anyone, but I don't ever, want help from somebody. And I think a lot of it was just because so much of my life I was dependent on other people. And I'm grateful for that, but it's not how I didn't like living like that. So I originally got hooked up with, I think Coloplast is something that the hospital connected me with. I got like a little starter kit and a little travel case. And then I think I used them for years and years, almost to the point where it was about a year ago in January that I went back to see my ostomy nurse and kind of changed up the style. I mean, obviously over the years, they've had some great advances in technology to, make things better, more secure. So I was using like a super outdated bag until about 2 years ago. But for me, it was working. But again, being as active as I am, I was going through them pretty left and right. So made the switch
real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we kind of skipped over it just because it's something that we kind of just do. But like Hollister was the brand that I used right out of the hospital, and even when I went to see the ostomy nurse, I didn't really. I don't know if it was just our problems or what we're dealing with, or maybe it's the response we get from the nurse or whatever. But I never really asked a whole lot of questions about changing products. I always felt like they'd tell me if it existed. And so I never tried anything other than the one brand, the one kind I started with, and I did the exact same thing. So I guess I'm just kind of curious why you think you kind of went so long like I did before you were like, man, maybe I need to try something new. I need to go this, because I put up with a lot of problems with that appliance for maybe 2 years before I was like, all right, there's got to be another option.
Totally. And I mean, I think part of it for me was just, again, not wanting to, I wanted to do it myself. I was stubborn to a degree. But again, then, bags were lasting like a day or two. I was going through them like every day sometimes, depending on how active or what I was doing. And then I realized I'm like, I've never let this stop me, but for some reason now, my appliance has stopped me. It's not my physical activity or my energy, but it's the damn bag that stopped me. So I've used Hollister a bunch, and through the chef business, we've actually been contracted we just shot a video like a week ago for World Ostomy Day in October. So that's coming out. We traveled to Nashville for a wound conference for nurses, and we manned a booth for Hollister there. So I've used their products a lot over the years. But again, it's always just really what I feel most comfortable with and what gives me the confidence. So like I said, last January, I went in to see my ostomy nurse and hadn't seen her in a long, long time. And immediately she was like, why didn't you reach out? Like, why? You could have emailed me, texted me. And she immediately got me back on, I think it's a Coloplast bag, one piece now I use now, starting to use some wafers, some different pastes, like things that, again, I just didn't know about for my own like stupidity or stubbornness. Because I've had the ostomy so long, I just kept doing the same thing.
Right.
But now, so now I'm using a whole different setup. and it's been great. So yeah.
So if you're listening and you've had your ostomy for a while and you haven't made any changes, just be a little open-minded because
Yeah, and I
there's some
think
really
that's
cool advancements.
totally, and I think that's one thing, whether it's at Camp Oasis when I'm talking to campers or through my own Instagram advocating for Crohn's and colitis, regardless of, especially if you have an ostomy, just, talk to, you're your best advocate. Be prepared to ask questions. We all know when we go in the doctor's office, they have a limited time to spend with you. Some have good bedside manner, some don't. But the more prepared and educated you can on your own, the more confident you will feel. And yeah, you'd be surprised. Like I said, once I asked my ostomy nurse, she was like, duh, there's a lot better things to be using. So, being your biggest advocate and educating yourself, and then going, when you have a professional in front of you, asking them for advice, whether it be on ostomy supplies or diet. Obviously be careful of what you Google and find on the internet, but at the same time, that's really important, not only to have some more security in your own products, but also just, be as most informed as you can.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about, like, have you had over the years, do you have any good stories from traveling or running out of supplies somewhere or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. I guess one of the more recent ones, I was down visiting my family in Florida. They were all at work. So I was just visiting my mom and had keys to the house. No, actually I didn't, but I left, I did a workout at a gym down in Florida. It was the heat of summer, came home, was like super, super hot. And it was, I don't know, 90 degrees out. She has a pool in the backyard. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, I know the back door is open. I'm just going to like jump into this pool. And I actually try to do it. It's my own fault, but I try to do it for Instagram. I try to like set up try to record me jumping in this pool. Well, what happened when I jumped in, because I didn't have like an ostomy belt on or anything, like I fell in kind of backwards and the bag literally just ripped right off my body. So I come out of the water, not only feeling refreshed, but like, oh, my bag now is floating. But again, luckily it was like a public pool, or no, a private pool in my mom's backyard. But then I'm like, all right, well, I should go inside and put a bag on and shower anyway. But then the back door was locked. So here I'm like, I'm walking around the backyard of my mom's house, like waiting to like poop all over the place. But
Yeah.
I found a window that was open. I crawled in through the window and then immediately got into the bathroom and changed it, and all was well. But even something like that, like it's a funny story to me looking back at it. I've had some dating stories where I've had bags break in some situations, and again, it's really all how you approach it and how open you are with your partner or whoever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Shit happens.
Stuff. Yes, thank you. I didn't know if I could say it, but yeah, shit happens all the time. So it's really just how you kind of recover from it and go about your day. And because again, it's not the end of the world. Things happen, but as long as you can stay positive and really take control of what you can. So again, like, make sure you don't lock yourself out of your house like I did, but have bags handy, have supplies in stock. Because stuff's going to happen, but again, it's not the end of the world.
And that's such good advice, because even for myself, I can be my worst critic, but early on, I really remember just struggling of thinking other people were judging me all the time, and me getting in those situations. I was just super hard on myself between the ears. It wasn't outside of me. And so I would be so hard on myself when that dumb stuff would happen, and I'd make the situation way worse. And now I'm, 16 years into having this thing, and I'm like, shit happens. And if it wasn't this, it would be something else. So
totally. Yeah, I think that's a great attitude to have. And I think something else I've learned over the years is really, I mean, you can be self-conscious about it, have body image kind of things about it, which is natural. And I had that for years. But once I realized, like, that's, that's not them. That's me taking that on. No one's,
Yeah.
it's in my head that people are looking at me differently. I think one of the best things that ever happened actually was at Camp Oasis. I was a counselor at the time. I wasn't looking after any of the kids. I was just there on like a free time. And everyone was at the lake swimming. So it's hot out. I'm going in the water. I take my shirt off, get in the water into the lake. And after camp, one of the counselors reached out to me and thanked me. I was like, what for? I don't remember doing anything to have an impact on somebody. But what she said was, at the same time that I was walking down to the beach, shirtless, jumping in the water, there was a kid on the other side of the beach that was scared of even just showing his scars. I don't even think he had an ostomy. But at the same time, she was trying to counsel him to, like, look, it's okay. You're in a safe space. There I am on the other side of the beach, scars, an ostomy bag hanging out, just going about my day and getting in the water. So she pointed me out to this kid. He immediately had the confidence to get in and get in the water and have fun and not let it stop him. So for me, that was something that changed my life forever. And I didn't even know I did anything. I found out about the story after the fact. But from that experience and moment on, I've really kind of thought about the bigger picture of like, if it's hot out, I'm going to take my shirt off. I'm going to be in a pool. I'm going to take my shirt off. Like I'm just like everybody else, it doesn't define me. It doesn't stop me from doing anything. And if anything, it's more of an awareness builder and a talking point with other Crohn's patients, ostomates, or even just people in general who don't know what it is. Just the more comfortable you are with it and informing other people about it, you'd be surprised how helpful you can be, not only to other people that maybe are struggling with the same thing you are, but even just the general public that just is uneducated.
Dude, that's the best way to end this thing, Ryan, man. I appreciate it. That was cool.
Cool.
Ryan from Nude Dude Food, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah. So Nude Dude Food, little product placement, and I didn't do my hair today, but Instagram there you go. Instagram at Nude Dude Food, and then my own personal IG, which I do a lot more advocating for Crohn's and post shirtless stuff all the time, again, because I don't care, and I actually get a lot of good feedback from it, so that kind of encourages me, is at R Van Voorhis. So it's my last name, and we'll include it when we post on Instagram, but it's my last name, Van Voorhis. So RVANVOORHIS. So yeah, hit me up, hit up the business. You guys ever have any questions about living with an ostomy, Crohn's or colitis? I'm just a click away.
Dude, Ryan, thank you very much for coming on. Everybody, thanks for listening. This is awesome. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to the podcast and like us and follow us. We'll put all of our links and everything in the comments section. Dude, Ryan, thanks again, man.
Awesome. Thank you much.